So, we're getting ready to embark on this big campaign creation adventure that we're going to do. And one of the things to really think about is what are you going to use to provide structure? There are going to be a lot of documents and stories and NPCs and encounters and a bunch of different things, factions, all these things that need to be interconnected, and you have to keep track of them in some type of organized way. You could use just a normal file structure thing, or you could also get a dedicated campaign manager. So, we're going to take a look at kind of both sides, and we're probably going to come to a decision by the end of this video. So, my name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. In general, you have two basic categories of things you can use for a collaborative project management, and in this case, campaign management. And I'm going to cover some basic ones and ones that are available to kind of everybody, regardless of platform. So, the two categories would be things like Google Drive or OneNote, Dropbox, file management things that are generally remote that anybody can log into from anywhere on the internet. I'm not going to go into those too much because I think that is a category that if we were doing this as a single person, it might be a lot easier to organize. However, I think that since we're doing this collaboratively, I think it would be much easier for us to do it with something that is dedicated to campaign structure. So I'm going to set those aside. Although they are great for campaign management, if you are doing your own, I think collaboratively, it is much easier to do it with something that is a little bit more structured towards campaign management. Then we move on to the things that are more designed for collaborative work. There are things that are TTRPG specific as well as collaborative project management software. And we'll cover a little bit of both. But first, I kind of want to cover the things that could potentially be honorable mentions, but I don't think that they're going to fit into our specific category because we are going to be doing very widespread collaborative work. So, some of the ones that I did think that were very interesting were the Goblin's Notebook, Chronica, Kanka, and Scabbard. All of these were campaign management software that allowed you to create a campaign and to link all these different things together. However, they either were not vast enough or they didn't have the collaborative thing that I specifically was looking for. But I've kind of narrowed it down to three things. So, with that, this little preamble here describing some of the things that didn't quite make it but are still fantastic, let's kind of go into what the three contenders are. So we're going to go ahead and start off with World Anvil. World Anvil is a tabletop role playing game world builder that also does campaign management. It has a bunch of good features. It has a really active community on their own Discord. It really helps you with a bunch of tools for building worlds and managing your TTRPG campaigns. In addition to some other things, like you could write full short stories or novels on this as well. Everything is kind of based on wiki sort of articles, and it has a lot of features, but it can be a little bit complicated. Right here, I'm kind of showing on the screen myself signed into an account. Most of these have free trials, and so that's where you can kind of look at some things and figure some things out. There is a lot here. There is a lot to kind of go through, but all the tools are there and they make it very easy. They also let you kind of determine what TTRPG platform you do through a drop down list that is pretty extensive. Now, let's talk about some kind of key features of this. First of all, you can do organization down to the nth degree with tags and categories in order to keep things together and where they should be. It also has a bunch of pre made themes and the ability to customize things as you are going along. It also has a bunch of templates and kind of world building starters that kind of help you move forward with what you are trying to do. And one of the big things for me is it has permission tools to limit who can see specific content. And how that is important to our particular project is we're going to have the active participants, but there'll also be people who see these videos as they're going along that haven't necessarily bought in, haven't necessarily subscribed, or haven't necessarily been following, but they want to see where we are. Well, we can have private articles that aren't done, but as we are moving along, we can move stuff to the public. And individual people can go along and view these things as they go along. It does include some mapping tools, which I really haven't gotten too far into, as well as a way to present all the information. Now, there are a few weaknesses to this particular platform, and one of the ones that's kind of visible here is there is a lot to it. There are so many different buttons and categories and things to do, so it has a learning curve that definitely needs to be overcome. Now, with World Anvil, talked about, let's move on to our next one. And our next one is going to be LegendKeeper. Now, LegendKeeper is designed for campaigns. It is fairly fast, it is fairly flexible. It does include some world building things as well as tabletop role playing game campaign management. And it also has a pretty active community around it in order to help you move things along. But let's go ahead and click into one of the campaigns that I just started so we can kind of see. It is not quite as cluttered as World Anvil is. It does have its own mapping tools that allows you to kind of drop pins and through those link to the wiki pages that you're going to be creating. You can also not quite do tags, but they do have quick mentions or auto linking in entire documents. It does have some offline support and it does do granular permissions. Now, its strengths are it's not quite as overwhelming as World Anvil. However, you do have to kind of click through to find things though. So that could be a downside as well. It is very flexible. You are in control of what the documents contain and what templates you decide to create. And because it's a wiki structure, you can organize things very well. Now, probably the biggest weakness I see of this is there is no public access. So in order for someone to actually see what we've been working on, they need to be invited for them to have access. So, and the person also needs to set up an account in order to actually even view these things once you invite them. And that kind of limits the availability that I see with LegendKeeper. And let's move on to the last one, which is Notion. So Notion is not specifically a tabletop role-playing game campaign management or world builder. It is project management software. You can get started for free. You can share the documents. It is a wiki just like the other projects. However, it is not specifically tailored to tabletop role-playing games. You can manage pretty much anything in here, and it works really well for tabletop role-playing game campaigns. Everything does kind of revolve around a database model, so you can do linking, you can do a bunch of things in order to ensure everything kind of stays together. So it does have a database structure. It does allow you to do content blocks for quick editing within your wiki pages. The user interface is fairly friendly. It is very easy to use, very easy to get started, and very easy to bring people in. Now, you can also share things pretty easy by publishing it. And once you publish it, you can then restrict the sharing to certain members. Now, with the fact that it is a database, it is a little bit more difficult to reorganize. If you need to take something that you had been working on and kind of rearrange certain parts in different locations, it's very hard to do that just as a matter of course. And then this is more of a topical or a surface level thing, but it is very nice. It is very organized. It is very clean. However, you don't necessarily get a way to customize it to your campaign, and it will always look like this. You can put a banner image in there and you can put an icon on there, but it doesn't necessarily look like a fantasy tabletop role-playing game campaign. Now, out of the three of these world building / campaign management pieces of software, I have decided to go with World Anvil. It's where we are going to be working on the project. And as we go through, people can go ahead and request access in order to be authors or writers. And we'll discuss things during the live streams and be able to make adjustments even as we're talking on the fly. I think it's going to be a good piece of software that gives us a way to organize how we're going to build this so it actually progresses and doesn't turn into a big circus. World Anvil has been selected as our tabletop role-playing game campaign management software, so that is where we're going to go ahead and start with. There is nothing wrong with the other ones, nor is there anything wrong with some of the other ones I mentioned at the beginning of the video. They all had their positive things. None of them had any super huge cons. The big thing that those of us who are going to be participating in this endeavor need to realize is we need to make sure that we have the collaboration. And I do believe that World Anvil allowed for that much easier than most of the other things, which is really where the decision came from. So, with that being said, I do hope you enjoyed this little roundup. Once again, any of these are actually great software. It just depends on what you need them for. So, with all that being said, I do hope you liked the video. And if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.